My guest Christina's husband was drinking and smoking and hiding it from her. And there was painful infidelity. Their problems were all his fault. But Christina decided to turn it all around. And now they enjoy a deep level of intimacy. And there is no question her husband is her soulmate and her best friend. She's going to tell us how she did it so you can do it too. Christina, welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, Laura. I am honored to be here.
Well, I always love to start with the bad old days. Tell me what was going wrong in your marriage.
Oh, man. I think everything was going wrong. We had just had a long few years where we had moved to Wisconsin and things were not going well. We had lost trust of each other, and I thought that I knew better than my husband, that I could solve all of his problems, that if he just listened to me and took my advice about business and what he should do differently, that it would fix everything. So yeah, things got really out of control and off the rails.
Wow. So you were, you had some advice for him about his business and he wasn't receiving that very well, it sounds like. And, this was causing tension, sounds like, at your house.
Yeah, absolutely.
What other kinds of things were you guys, arguing about?
I would get really nervous when he wouldn't come home on time, and I would assume that he was drinking, that this was probably going to be one of those bad nights again, and that we would have arguments. And so as soon as he walked in the door, I'd start questioning or just giving him a hard time for being a little bit late when he got home from work. And so we just had this constant tension, and I was always looking for, what is he hiding from me? What is he not telling me? And I acted like his mother. I thought I knew better. And we just started creating this snowball effect of not trusting each other. It led us down a really rough road.
Well, it can be hard to trust your husband when he's coming home late. And did he give you reason to not trust him?
Yeah, I started finding things on his phone, finding out that he was looking at things or talking to people, which only increased like the hurt and the resentment. And so I just was kind of on edge all the time and feeling really sorry for myself, thinking that he was the problem.
Well, that must have been pretty crushing to find those things that kind of validated your suspicions that you really couldn't trust him, it sounds like. So I can imagine that creating some big fights. We've certainly had similar fights here. And then he was not, it didn't feel like he was being entirely honest with you anyway.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And we have 8 children. And we started arguing a lot about parenting too. So that just created more issues. We just had a lot of stress. We run a business together and we were home together with our kids a lot. I was homeschooling at the time, and we started having issues with our oldest daughter. And we didn't agree on, whether she should have a cell phone or whether it should be taken away or have it in her room at night or whatever. It was just constant. And so I didn't trust him the way that he parented, and he didn't trust me. So it led to a lot of big arguments with my daughter in the middle. And this would happen with our other kids too. I would think he's being too harsh and he would think I'm being too lenient. So it was very painful. And it just created a lot of stress.
Yeah. And with that many kids, like that means you had like every parenting challenge there could possibly be, probably, because each kid's a little different. So it does sound incredibly stressful in running the business. And it sounds like there was also never any individual time. Like you were running the business together at home with the kids together all the time.
Yeah.
There was not much Christina time in that, it sounds like.
For sure. We had gotten into a survival mode, and it just had gotten more and more that way. From having kids one after the other to just never really getting a break and having time for ourselves. It just, became a lifestyle.
Yeah. Awful. So it sounds exhausting. First of all, it sounds like a really tiring life. Was there a moment where you said, wow, we cannot go on like this?
Yeah, absolutely. There were actually many moments like that. And I didn't really know what to do. I prayed. One time I actually ran away on a quick vacation with my kids and said, I just need to get out of here. And I went to Florida and I said, I will call you. I'll let you know we're safe, but I'm on my own. And even after that, there was a time I actually called the police on my husband because I was scared that he was going to get really upset and maybe hurt me or my daughter. Even though that never happened, I just didn't trust him.
Oh, so stressful, so scary. Like it felt like the only options to protect yourself and your daughter were to get out for that vacation. I mean, you're calling it a vacation, but it really was like escape. Like, I have to escape this situation. It feels too dangerous.
Absolutely.
It sounds like
I was just running from my marriage problems and my stressful life, and I didn't want to face it.
Well, yeah. And it does sound incredibly stressful. Who would want to face that? So did you contemplate getting divorced?
At that point, I didn't because I knew that I really couldn't raise my kids and my family on my own the way that I thought they needed to be, have a mother and a father. And then with our business as well, we were just really in a situation that felt kind of impossible. So there was no way but to figure out a way to make it work.
Wow. But in the meantime, it sounds just from here, it sounds like you felt trapped in a way, like you are stuck. There is no way to get away from him except for this vacation with the kids, like this brief vacation thing. This is really, you were like a prison almost. Like, if you love your kids, and of course you do, then you're going to have to make this work somehow. So it sounds very oppressive. And you had mentioned that he was like smoking and drinking and lying to you about that also. Yeah.
That was so painful. Sometimes my kids would find, a vape or something like that, or they'd find something else out and they would come to me and let me know. And it was just so sad. So I would try to talk to him and I would be so hurt. And we would, have these conversations and these arguments and try to work things out. But there was always that there. Like, I don't really know if I've got the whole story.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it sounds like there was infidelity. Speaking of not getting the whole story.
Yeah, actually, I had started with the skills and I started using the skills. And then this all came out. And he actually had a huge confession. And I found out so much more that I didn't know. And so it was incredibly painful. And we've been rebuilding ever since. But thankfully, I had the skills. Thankfully, I had the support system and I knew what to do with all that pain, which, self-care and gratitude and really just rebuilding my life from the ground up. I'm so thankful that I found the skills. So,
wow, Christina, amazing. So, okay, let's go back a little bit then, because how did you find the intimacy skills?
Well, like I said, in desperation, I had been praying and something came up on my Facebook, like an ad that said, do you wish to be loved, cherished, and adored? And I thought, oh gosh, of course, but who could ever have that? It was almost like painful to even read those words. But I did get the book and I did listen to the podcast, and everything my intuition told me was like, this is where you need to be. And I really kind of kept putting it off. And I was like, yeah, I get it. I agree with it. I'll do it here and there. But I mean, it was just kind of in the background at that point. And And I was glad that I found it. I was taking some baby steps at that point.
What baby steps were you taking?
Well, the first thing the book mentioned was making a list of gratitudes for your husband and sharing that. And so that felt like the hardest thing I had ever done. It was just so uncomfortable to be in that position and feeling so sorry for myself, and then to start thinking of things that I was thankful for him. So that was my first step.
Yeah. Okay. So I get it. Like he's actually feels like the source of all this pain and struggling and suffering.
Yeah.
And he's letting you down in so many ways. Okay. And now you're going to come up with gratitudes for him. So what did you thank him for?
Oh, wow. There were so many things that I could thank him for, just for being there and like still working, you know, things that he did with the kids, taking care of the yard work. I mean, there were things to thank him for. So just to express that to him, it was kind of like, what is this? You know, why are you doing this? And I didn't tell him I was reading the book or anything like that, but it was the start. It was definitely a good start.
So did he think something was weird that you were thanking him all of a sudden?
I'm sure. I didn't explain anything at that point. And I did eventually get coaching, which made things a lot weirder. No, he was really skeptical that I was acting so strange, but probably, you know, in a good way. It was okay.
Wow. So cool. Well, it sounds really courageous to make that gratitude list when you are feeling so resentful like that. It's a really hard stretch to get there. So I admire that very much, that you decided to focus on the good things about your husband, even though it sounds like you had a pretty long list of the things that didn't feel good at the time. What else? What else did you start to do differently than you had been doing things?
I started expressing my desires. That was a stretch for me, but their jewelry has always been important to me. And there were a couple of things that I really wanted. I wanted a new anniversary band and a little more sparkle. And I expressed that. And I was so surprised when he right away decided to make an appointment to take me jewelry shopping and start looking at some things. And he had some of his own ideas as well that he thought, oh, well, let's look at this too. And while we're here, let's check this out. And it was so fun. And so I was able to credit the skills like, wow, I never would have expressed that. I always thought he should just know or somehow read my mind or, you know, have all this stuff in his back pocket that he should just be doing. So.
Wow. So it must have felt great to see that actually he jumped at the chance as soon as you were expressing those desires, which did it feel uncomfortable to say them?
Absolutely. I felt like I was being kind of a spoiled brat or something to even bring something like that up. And he didn't take it that way. You're right. He jumped at the chance and we were just having fun. So it was really encouraging.
Wow. Yeah, that's inspiring. That the problem was he didn't know about your desire to have jewelry, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not at all. Mm-hmm.
And you might have been uncomfortable receiving it prior to that. Was it uncomfortable receiving it anyway?
Not at that point. I was just really excited and I started learning how to be a better receiver, especially when I got the okay from the book that I could start practicing self-care. I really didn't feel like that was something I was allowed to do. I was so used to taking care of everyone else. And I grew up in a home too, where like hard work is, you know, just the number one thing. And so self-care felt like the last thing on my list. But when I started practicing that consistently, I became a better receiver. And yeah, I just was having a lot more fun.
Oh my gosh. What did you do to have more fun?
I started using all the things that I never used before, my special perfumes and essential oils, taking baths, making myself tea. I expressed my desire to my husband that I would love for him to get me a cup of tea. And he started learning to do that on a regular basis. And I just thought I was the queen. I loved it. I was getting pampered.
Wow. So he's buying you jewelry and making your tea. And you're using all the special stuff that you were saving for like a special occasion kind of thing, or?
Yeah. Yeah, I felt like I got the okay for self-care, and it made me feel good to know and hear about other women too, and all the things that they do for their self-care. And so it just encouraged me to start focusing on my own happiness.
Gosh, I love that. And so he saw you being happier, it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I
How did
think it
he
was encouraging to him too, and it created a lot more safety.
Ah, great. Because he wanted you to be happy all along, probably. And now you were. Yes, that must have been exciting. I love it. Okay. Well, what about like checking his phone or just kind of, asking him about where he'd been and stuff like that? What did you do with that after you got the skills?
Well, for the most part, I didn't go shopping for pain. I really began to trust him and see the best in him. And I was like 98% good with that. And then there was one time that I felt like my intuition told me like, hey, go ahead and check. And I don't know if I was shopping for pain, but it did lead to a really uncomfortable discovery. And it led to a painful separation at that point. I felt strong enough to say like, wow, this is not okay. We were on a really good track and this is huge. And so, yeah, we actually did split up for a little bit. And then he came back and told me everything that I didn't know. And so I had some time to really give my feelings a day in the sun and take some time for myself and figure out how I was feeling about everything.
Wow. It sounds like so unfair. Like here you get the skills, you're using them, you're thanking them, you're making yourself happy, finding your gratitude. And that's when you find out actually there was a big betrayal.
Yeah.
That had happened. Okay. So devastating. And here before this, you'd been like, I can't leave this marriage, even though I just can't. Like I have 8 kids in this business and I can't do it. Mm-hmm. And now the separation happens. It like has to happen because of this, what you discovered. And you were even consciously not shopping for pain. You were staying on your own paper, trying to make yourself happy. So this is the worst. Like this must have been so crushing because your hope had been on a high and now this news like kind of ruins it.
Yeah.
So what happened from there?
Absolutely. It was devastating. It was a huge betrayal and it took so much out of me at the time to find myself in that place. But at that point, I had the skills. I had a coach that I was meeting with regularly. And I was able to bring all of this to coaching and talk through it. And while we were separated, I started focusing on receiving. And I just found myself receiving in just the most unexpected places, whether it was from friends or neighbors or anyone, even my husband. And I started looking at him so differently every time he was helping the kids or every time he was concerned about, whatever was going on with me at home or if I needed some help or some advice or anything. I was able to be respectful of him and he was able to show up as my hero. And it was like we were starting out on ground zero.
Wow. That's amazing. So, I mean, the way you're describing this, he's showing up as your hero and you're seeing it that way. I mean, you're in the most devastating pain of your life, I'm imagining, but also like from the ashes, this like new, like this romance is kind of blossoming with the father of your 8 children that you've been married to for all this time. Yeah. I mean, it almost sounds like impossible. Like how did you do that?
I really let go of all possible outcomes and whether or not we were going to stay together. And I just started accepting everything for what it was. I didn't have any expectations from him anymore. If he wanted to run off and be with somebody else, like that was on his paper. And so I just was grateful for every little thing. And I started expressing desires too. I came up with this crazy idea of how great it would be to take a trip around the world and to spend time as a family and to spend time with our kids that was just desperately needed and missing for so many years. And so, it took time, but these things started coming to me, and I was able to share these with my husband, and he was receptive to it. He wanted the same things too. So we had a lot to work on, but he listened, and he was able to hear that there was definitely some changes that needed to be made and a lot of growth happening for both of us.
Wow. So you got busy with creating these, that sounds like kind of a crazy desire, right? Like for 10 people to travel, or, take a trip around the world. Mm-hmm. This sounds pretty outrageous. What happened with that?
Well, it was pretty outrageous. I had just gone through the biggest low and devastation of my life, and I was, experiencing all these gratitudes and nice surprises too. And so it felt crazy, but it also felt like, let's just be crazy. And we ended up going on a little vacation that we had planned previously for spring break. And my husband said, let's go skydiving. And I thought, oh my goodness. And I did. I went skydiving with him, and I just trusted that the universe would take care of us. And it was the scariest thing I'd ever done in my life. I had such a headache afterwards, but I did it. It was filmed. I have proof. I never would have done something like that without him. And so it was like, okay, let's just be crazy.
Wow. And so it's like a brand new Christina. She skydives. She expresses her desires. She is grateful. She's using her fancy perfume, and he's making you okay. And so at this point, the separation has ended. Did the separation, or I've lost the timeline a little bit.
Right. It was like a few months, and then he slowly started, back home again, and we didn't really have everything all figured out. We were still just working through things, and he actually spent some time too. He went on a retreat for men and did some soul searching as well. And we both just kind of needed our space like that. And I had expressed the desire for the trip, and he was a little apprehensive about how that was all going to work, but was open to the idea. And step by step, it happened. We had sold our van, and we decided to find somebody to help run our business. And then we went on this trip with just one-way tickets and no plan. We thought, well, if we run out of money and just come back in a month, then that's fine too. So it was really open-ended. And while we were traveling, we ended up, a neighbor asked if he could purchase some of our land from us. It was actually our vineyard, and we were wanting to close our winery business. And so it was perfect timing. It was just more work for us anyways. And it was like, yeah, this sounds great. So we ended up being able to travel even longer than we just kept going. So, yeah.
Wow. That sounds like a miracle. Like, how does that happen? Like, were you advertising that land for sale, or like, how did that?
We hadn't even talked to him about it. It was just completely random. So it was just a step by step with faith. And we knew, like, if we need to go home, we'll go home. If we're able to keep going, we'll keep going. And it just worked out. So it was really incredible. I know every part of it, like of the journey, was just about trust. I mean, there were definitely some times that we were kind of losing our mind while traveling and we had to work through a lot. Our whole family learned to trust each other. And when I was at my lowest, my kids would be there for me, and when he was at his lowest, we'd all rally around him. We just learned so much from it. And we're so thankful we were able to do that.
Sounds like an amazing adventure. And you did end up going all over the world.
Yeah. Yeah. We started out in Europe, and then we ended up 17 countries. We went through Nepal and Thailand and Israel and Australia and Bali. So it's amazing.
Wow. That is amazing. All right. So you're traveling the world and you're using your skills, it sounds like. Like, how was the connection with your husband on that trip?
Well, I was going through coach training at that time. And so it was definitely the reinforcement that I needed to stay focused. And I got to practice coaching with other trainees and just learn the skills to the highest level. So I had a lot of chances to practice.
Okay, good. And so, yeah, well, that sounds amazing. And it sounds like you have really been very dedicated to using the skills, obviously. And some time has passed since that trip. How long ago was that trip?
Let's see. That was back in 2023 and 2024. So, yeah, it's been, I don't even know. Been a little
couple of years.
Yeah.
So, and what is your relationship like now?
Wow. We just keep growing closer and closer every day. We have things that come up that we work through, but we have different communication skills now. And so it's like layers of an onion. We just keep creating more safety. And I feel that there's a lot more trust. So it's really been a level of intimacy that I've always wanted. And now I finally have. And so, yeah, I don't doubt our connection anymore, and I feel safe with him. And I know with everything that we've been through, like, you know, there's just nothing that can really keep us apart.
This is amazing. I mean, so you feel a new level of trust, and really someone from the outside could look in and say, well, absolutely not. She shouldn't trust him, right? There was the drinking, the smoking, the infidelity, like, you had every reason to not trust. I mean, does the urge to check up on him ever come up for you?
I mean, there have been times as I've gone through this process that I would doubt just my experience, or, you know, I'd feel pain or I'd feel sad, but I've never gotten to the point where I really have to check up on him anymore. I don't worry because I've let go, and everything, like, he comes back to me. And I just find that the more I've relinquished control, the more he comes back to me and I get what I want. So, like, it's just, I don't have to try and I don't have to force anything. Yeah.
Wow. No, that's mind blowing. So it sounds like you were jealous. You were jealous in your marriage, and that manifested itself in you checking up and asking, you know, and telling him, you know, come home from, you know, you shouldn't be so late or whatever. And now your jealousy, it sounds like it's cured. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I absolutely would say that. And it feels so freeing as a person. I realized I had so much insecurity and that I put so much importance on that relationship only, that I was holding on to it so tightly. And you're right. Now that I've been able to just let go and relax, like, I have what I want with him. So
it all works the opposite of the way we all think it's going to work. And so you feel trusting, you don't feel the need to check up on him. Like, is he still drinking and smoking, or is there still infidelity?
That's a good question. So drinking has become a non-issue. He really just decided for himself that it wasn't serving him. We will, you know, maybe have a drink here and there, like if it's something different, but for the most part, we don't drink. Smoking also, he realizes, like, he doesn't want to be a bad influence for our kids. So he just decides things himself, but it's not something that I worry about. And it's not something that I see as my problem. It's on his paper. And as far as infidelity, he tells me that I am so special to him and that he never wants to let me go, and he wants to grow old with me, and he opens up to me. And so what more can I ask for? I don't feel like I have any competition.
Wow. Yeah. There's no need to feel that way. And so that's incredible. I mean, congratulations, because I imagine that when these various breakdowns were happening, I mean, a lot of people would say that's the end of your marriage. You do have to get divorced now. Did people encourage you to divorce?
Well, anytime I look for answers on the internet, can people overcome infidelity, or can, a cheater stop cheating or anything like that? I didn't get any reassurance. I didn't find any hope at all. So I stopped sharing. I didn't really want everybody to know what was going on because I knew that my story was going to be my own. So I had to really trust that whatever was going to happen was going to happen, and finding the skills and hearing other women's stories, their hope, even just other women that were kind of going along, through similar things as I was at that time. It just gave me so much hope. So
it's so moving because I'm really just present to how you are paying it forward right now. Like other women told their stories, it inspired you, it gave you hope. And now you are the storyteller who, when you heard those other women's stories, did you even believe it? Did you even think it was possible to be where you are now with your marriage?
I was shocked and I was surprised because it always looks like everybody has it all figured out on the outside and nobody has any of these struggles and issues. And I was so embarrassed. I didn't think that anybody would understand. And so, just being able to share, and know that other people are going through the same thing as I was, it really helped me to know I wasn't alone, and I didn't have to feel ashamed anymore. And if anything, the more we talk about it, the more we encourage and empower each other. So I'm happy to share and not feel ashamed anymore.
Oh, it's so courageous, Christina. And I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for being so courageous and ending that shame and the illusion that you're the only one having these problems, right? Like things are going on in marriages, other marriages too. Nobody's got it perfect. And so it's such a beautiful, generous gift to give to other women that you're here telling this story, that you're ending world divorce by being so open. So I just love that. So, okay. So tell us a little more about what your marriage is like now.
Sure. So let's see here. We have fun dreaming together, planning more vacations and traveling. And then we still work together. We still own a business together, but now it's a lot different. I don't tell my husband what I think he should do, or when he comes up with ideas, I use duct tape and I listen, even if I don't always agree. He's got great ideas, and I trust him to take care of our family. And he just keeps growing into that more and more, that he is always such a good dad and such a great provider. And so it's just fun to watch him, continually grow.
Wow. Well, that sounds amazing. I kind of want to hear a little more about that, because I know it can be challenging to have a business with your husband. And it sounds like you found a harmonious, like kind of a light way to go forward with that you didn't have before. Can you tell us a little bit, like, how do you do that? How do you, like, you don't always agree with his ideas? Like, how do you handle that?
Yeah. So, sometimes I'll still get coaching if I need to, because it's a daily, it's a daily process, but most of all, just relinquishing control and then focusing on my self-care. If I'm getting worked up about something, then I can go and take care of myself. I can focus on my coaching, and I can focus on, just things that I feel like are on my paper.
Wow. Okay, great. Well, that's a great experience to share, because I think there are a lot of, I hear about a lot of couples being in business together and how that can actually just be one more challenge that they're having on top of all the normal challenges that every couple has. So I appreciate hearing about your success with having that business together and having things be peaceful and feeling so special and taken care of by your husband is awesome.
Absolutely.
So what is your tip for a woman who is where you were, where she's feeling like she's having a lot of jealousy. Like she's really struggling with that. And and then her worst nightmare comes true. Like she finds out he did betray her. And she wants what you have now, which is feeling like, feeling desired and taken care of and adored is like what I hear from you, what you're describing. Where do you think she should start?
I would definitely recommend getting the book and the workbook. I love the workbook because it's just so easy. It's just step by step, day by day, and just something as simple as listing out your gratitudes, listing out your self-care, finding your focus. That's definitely the first step. And then second, to get coaching, find that community, find the support of people who know the skills and are practicing them. It's so important. And that's been one of the biggest gifts to me, is to have this community and so many more friends than I had before. I'm so grateful for that.
Wow. That's so cool. So you have friendships with women that you met because of the breakdown in your marriage. Is that right? Fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. Women that I've introduced to the skills, women that I've coached, women that have coached me, women that I'm learning from. And yeah, just mentors. I just feel like I have so much more community now. I feel a lot less alone. And that in itself has just been so instrumental to me just feeling like happy and whole as a person.
Wow. I love that. That gives me chills. That community you described it. I think we all want that. We all crave it. And you've created that for yourself out of a breakdown in your marriage, which is definitely making lemonade out of lemons. So I love that. Yeah. But how do you think this has affected your kids?
Wow, that's a good question. I feel like they've been through a lot. They've seen a lot of life. And I think they really value the relationships with each other and with us. They don't take it for granted. When things, do get tense, they remember how bad things were. And they remember feeling scared and uncomfortable in their own home and not sure if we were going to stay together, or, if they felt safe, just because of the tension and the yelling and the arguments and the police coming to their house. What does this mean? What does this look like? And so I know that they really don't take any of it for granted.
Wow. Yeah. I got the heartbreak. I mean, you mentioned it before that you called the police, but I really get it, and how hard that must have been on your mama heart, like to see them, like the way you say it, they've gone through a lot.
Yeah.
And now they're having a very different experience, it sounds like, and they are appreciative. Like you see the gratitude on your 8 kids.
Mm-hmm. And for our younger kids, I mean, that's for the older ones, they take things with a grain of salt, and they don't just expect that everybody should just be happy and get along all the time. They realize that there was some work to get there, but our younger kids are growing up with a happier mom and dad that are on the same page and that are a team. I mean, we don't argue about parenting the way that we used to, and we can parent together and support each other. And so they are growing up with a much different experience.
Okay, that's pretty incredible. That's amazing. Can you share a little bit about how did you change that dynamic with the parenting conflict?
It was part of the trust, seeing the best in my husband and knowing that he was capable of parenting, if maybe not the same way that I did, in his own way, and still as a good father. So a lot of times I learned to get myself out of the middle and let him do what he does. So
it sounds scary. It sounds hard to do that.
Yeah, so it was.
Having to bite your tongue sometimes when you had ideas about what he should be doing. And have you ever felt like, oh, I'm just kind of having to suck up like my point of view and just let him be in charge? Or does it ever feel Does it ever make you resentful?
No, not anymore. I did feel that way a lot at the beginning, and I'm able to see that when I take a step back or just go and get coaching, sometimes I'm able to get the, understanding that I need from other women, or just let my feelings have their day in the sun. Women, can usually understand where I'm coming from and at least give me that affirmation that I'm not crazy. And so, I'm able to just take myself out of the situation at that point, or at least try to most of the time, and just let it run its course.
Wow. Very impressive. It sounds like you sound very disciplined. Like you've really made a study out of the skills and just become an amazing student of becoming your best self, it sounds like.
Yeah, I still have a lot to learn, and I really want to keep learning them. I want to keep growing with the skills, because the more I do, the more I find that I can trust them, and that it's really powerful for me to do that, even when I don't understand, because I'm so used to just thinking that I know better. And so it's just been a process of relinquishing control and and learning as I go. So
yeah, I relate to that so much. I always have a tendency to think I know better too. And it can still come up. And so anyway, I just relate to you so much. What would you say to Christina if you could go back in time and tell her what you know now?
I would say to stop being so stubborn and just pay attention and do the skills. You don't have to try everything else first.
Everything else? What else had you tried?
I don't know. I mean, we did go to marriage counseling, and I think I just tried everything. Maybe I was just stubborn, and I just thought, well, that seems too uncomfortable. I don't want to have to actually do that because I'm not the problem. But I mean, I did take a look at my own paper, and I did have to figure out what things I could do to change. So, yeah.
Such a painful moment, right? Just taking, like, I know for me, I was just so used to blaming my husband, and it was really a hard moment to see that maybe I had contributed to some of our breakdown. And so you're calling it stubbornness, but really what I hear is you were humble and just willing to throw out everything you thought about relationships and try on a whole different pair of perspectives. Mm-hmm. And that's brought you to this point where you're a model of, it sounds like a pretty happy family over there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm thankful for everything that I've gone through, because it got me to where I am today. I also feel like maybe I can empathize with women who have been through some really hard things, because I've been through a lot. But yeah, I do wish I would have found the skills sooner. I hope I can teach them to my kids, and I hope that more people can get the skills sooner too, because I think it would save a lot of heartache.
Oh, yeah, I can relate to that too. Just wishing it's hard to look at the wreckage, and then it is so weird too to be like, wait, I'm the one that needed more skills first. Like it was, as we're hearing the story, there's plenty of things about your husband that were less than perfect. Yeah. But I just hear you being so accountable and also sounding so empowered, and you're just kind of a model of what's possible, like a beacon of hope of what's possible, even through the most devastating heartbreak in your marriage. You can come out amazing on the other side with jewelry and tea being made for you and getting to go on trips, and just feeling like you're with your soulmate. If you are willing and fearless about finding your gratitude and taking care of yourself, making yourself happy, and receiving graciously. So it's pretty incredible, Christina. Congratulations on everything you've created. I do want to present you with my Best Wife Award. So congratulations. Oh. You're so richly deserving. It's, it's not just your marriage that you saved, but, the lives of 10 people are impacted by your courageous, committed decision to become your best self. And I am just in such awe and admiration for you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for all of that acknowledgement. And I really do believe that if I can do it, anybody can.
Wow. Well, that is great to hear. That is great to hear. And you, better than most, are, you're an expert on how to recover your marriage from these kinds of breakdowns, because you've been there and done that. It's not just a certificate on the wall. This is something you've lived. And that is so inspiring. So thank you so much for sharing the whole story with us.
Absolutely. Thank you.